Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the r/EntitledPeople subreddit, so let's jump into it. Fiancé's family bans me from our home after he passes. I'm going to preface this by saying that brevity is not my strong point. Sorry, and it was hard to know what to include since there's a lot of backstory. If nothing else, writing this felt good because it was a very traumatic time, and getting it off my chest is helpful. Hopefully no one thinks I'm the entitled one. So, my fiancé, who I'll call Nate, died very unexpectedly in 2016 at the age of 35. I was 26 at the time. We lived together in a house on a few acres. I'd lived there for a couple years, and he had lived there most his life. Nate's grandfather built the house, and when his grandparents died, the house was willed to their 6 children, one of whom was Nate's mother. When Nate's mother died, her share was willed to Nate and his 2 siblings, i.e., Nate was a partial owner of the home. His aunt also lived there. She was mentally unstable in many ways I won't get into, except to say that she was a serious hoarder. Consequently, the house was in disrepair. Honestly, it was not fit to be lived in and could have easily been condemned, but it was a rough time. Please spare your judgment if you can. Nate and I were in the process of getting an apartment when he died. Since Nate and his aunt were the only partial owners living there, they paid all the property taxes and for repairs, etc. I contributed to after I moved in. I say this because I want to make it very apparent that we were not all squatters or freeloading off this house or anything of that sort. Anyways, a couple months before Nate died, his aunt had some health issues of her own that resulted in her being hospitalized and then moving into an apartment. That's when the entitled family, Nate's aunts, uncles, and cousins, swooped in and started demanding that we move out so that they could sell the property. Okay, fine. We were planning on moving anyway. They were being really unrealistic about the timeline though. At one point, they insisted that since we were low income, all we needed to do was contact the government and they would just give us a small house and some land. That's how out of touch with reality these people were. They'd show up at the house whenever they wanted, which I guess legally was their right, but it's also pretty rude and entitled to just come into someone's home on a regular basis without even speaking to them while you're there, much less letting them know beforehand. Anyway, when Nate died, they were elated. 2 days after he died, I was at the house collecting some of my things when I got a text from his sister, who is an angel, saying that they'd messaged his out-of-state uncle's wife, asking her to message sister about me because God forbid anyone be direct. Apparently, they wanted me banned from the property immediately. We'd been living in sin, and now that Nate was gone, I had no reason or right to be there. I was devastated. At that point, I wanted to take everything he'd ever touched and scoop it up and hold it close to me forever. I couldn't bear the thought of not being able to have anything of his. As an afterthought, I realized all of my stuff was also still there. Luckily, sister stuck up for me and said I could be there as long as I wanted. She lives across the country though, so she couldn't do much to enforce it. The most egregious display of disgusting entitlement / general assholishness happened a couple days later. I was at the house, frantically trying to load up the car with the things that made up the life that Nate and I shared together, which was taxing both physically and emotionally. I was crying when Nate's cousin appeared in our bedroom. Hey, isn't this crazy? Nate died so suddenly. He was fine a few days ago. Yeah, it was very unexpected. I know! Well, at least we can sell this dump now. It's then that I hear people talking and laughing in the next room. Apparently, entitled cousin had brought her teenage daughter and several of her daughter's friends to gawk at the house. Our home, where we lived and loved, was being openly mocked with zero regard for my feelings. So, when do you think you'll be gone? I'm not sure. I'd like to get as much of Nate's stuff as possible. And sister asked me to get some of their mom's things. Well, I guess I'll have to talk to sister about that. Their mom is the reason this place is so run down, you know? I don't see why sister would want any of this garbage. Note that this is blatantly false, as the house had been in pristine condition until Nate's mother died, and it was his aunt's hoarding that made it so run down. Also, there were still plenty of keepsakes and heirlooms that were not all garbage. I'm sort of dumbfounded by this whole exchange and way too emotionally drained to deal with it. So I just get back to what I was doing. Later that night, Entitled Cousin's sister messaged me asking what I'd done with Aunt's box of plastic horses. She apparently wanted them back immediately. Of course, I had not taken them. Why would I want a box of plastic horses? Hint, I would not. I elected not to reply. They got more aggressive about me not being there because I was now a plastic horse thief. Also, Nate was an artist by trade, and they started just throwing away all of his drawings and taking some of the more valuable figurines he had. So it's likely that they were the ones responsible for the missing horses. The last day I was there, my mom went with me. After getting the last of what I could, I just wanted to walk around the house one last time and sort of say goodbye to the place we'd spent so much time together in, a place I'd never see again. Of course, the family showed up, and my mom tried to calmly explain that I would be out soon and would not return. She tried to appeal to their sense of humanity by explaining how traumatized I was from his death and how I just needed this for some semblance of closure. But his aunt got in her face and lectured her about how Nate was in hell, and I'd be going there too. Then my mom, who somehow managed not to knock her teeth out, reminded her that sister had told me that I could be there. The aunt responded by calling the police to have me forcibly removed. We left before the police arrived, and now that's unfortunately my final memory of the place I spent some of my life with the most amazing man I've ever known. My first love. I'm sorry it's a bit anticlimactic, but this really was cathartic for me to write. If you've read this far, I sincerely thank you. Edit. Thank you for the outpouring of love and support. Your condolences are very much appreciated. A couple things I want to clarify. I'm a woman. The living in sin comments were just about us living together before marriage. He died of either sepsis or a pulmonary embolism. The hospital said one thing, the ME said another. I appreciate everyone saying I may have had legal recourse, but at the time, my entire life and all my future plans had been ripped away from me. It was not worth spending the little energy I had to try to drag it out any further. His sister and brother were his legal next of kin, and he did not have a will. Since his sister told me to get all of his and their mom's things, I was never worried about them coming after me for stealing any of it. I've learned a lot about myself and about others since he died, and I definitely feel more able now to focus on the good. I mostly only get angry about it now when I think about how they treated him before he died. I remember maybe a week before, I held him while he cried because he felt so abandoned and betrayed by them. He just kept saying how family is supposed to be permanent, and he just wanted something permanent. So I promised him that we were permanent. Now I have a ring with some of his ashes in it, engraved with, "We are permanent." He deserved so much better than what he got from life. Dear God, why are there so many onions around here? I agree. Ugh, the onions. Not gonna lie, I did cry a little when I read this story and that comment for the first time. I don't understand how some people can be so cruel and heartless, essentially laughing about OP's fiance dying and having no regard for her feelings. It's sickening. If I were super rich, I would study the crap out of law and take cases like this for free just so people like OP can have some justice and to teach little shits like her husband's relatives a lesson. Ah, yes, wouldn't that be nice? So, head over to my GoFundMe page to donate to me being a free anti-Karen lawyer. Just kidding. But anyways, that is all from me today. It's likely that this story wasn't enjoyable per se, but like always, I hope you got some value from it and took inspiration of how not to treat people. Help your Reddit girl out by leaving a like and subscribing if you want. I truly appreciate when you do, and I'll see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!